People say love is about sacrifice. But what happens when your sacrifice is taken for granted, when it becomes the very tool used to destroy you? This is the story of Miriam, a kind-hearted woman from Abuja who believed in a man so deeply she built his future while neglecting her own. She thought they were building a home together. But he was building someone else's dream, someone from his past. And by the time she found out, she was heavily pregnant and heartbroken. Miriam Ojawa, 32, was the kind of woman who gave with her whole heart. Raised by a single mother who sold oji and akara by the roadside, Miriam knew struggle. But she also knew how to turn pain into power. She worked her way through university, graduating with a degree in human resource management. By her late 20s, she had landed a steady job at a multinational firm in Abuja and was renting a modest 2-bedroom flat in Uye. That's when she met Chuka. Chuka was charismatic, soft-spoken, and different from the men who usually approached her. He was a tall, handsome man with a dimpled smile and a dream of becoming a university lecturer. He was working part-time in a law firm's archive room and living with 2 friends in a cramped boys' quarters. But he had ambition, and ambition was something Miriam respected. They started dating, slowly at first. He told her about his dreams of getting a master's degree in international law and how he wanted to teach and reform Nigeria's legal education system. He seemed passionate, sincere, and determined. Within a year, they moved in together. Miriam didn't mind footing the rent at first. It's temporary, she told herself. He'll pay me back one day. But days turned into months, and months into years. When Chuka lost his part-time job, she didn't hesitate to step in. She handled everything, the rent, the bills, and even his school application fees. When he was accepted into a reputable program in Enugu, it was Miriam who helped him relocate. She visited every 2 weeks, making the 6-hour journey by road with groceries, toiletries, and cooked food. Then came the news, she was pregnant. Chuka seemed excited at first, even though his voice cracked when he said, "Wow, we didn't plan this." Miriam smiled through the unease. "We'll figure it out," she reassured him. And again, she made sacrifices. She picked up extra shifts, cut back on personal expenses, and started saving up for the baby. But as her belly grew, Chuka began to drift. He visited less often. His messages became shorter, more formal. Busy with school was his favorite excuse. Miriam brushed aside her worries, telling herself the pressure of studies and fatherhood were just overwhelming him. After all, he was preparing to defend his thesis. What she didn't know was that he had started spending more and more time with someone else in Enugu. Someone he once loved and never truly stopped loving. Her name was Kemi. Kemi and Chuka had dated briefly during their undergraduate days, but had broken up when Kemi got a job offer in the UK. Now she was back, working on a non-profit legal aid project in Enugu. They had reconnected at a law seminar. One dinner turned into weekend visits. One kiss turned into a rekindled flame. Chuka told Kemi he was single, but complicated. She laughed and called him dramatic. Meanwhile, back in Abuja, Miriam was enduring mood swings, swollen feet, and late-night nausea all alone. She still sent him money every first Friday of the month for his upkeep, even when he stopped asking. She believed he was too proud to beg, and she was too committed to let him suffer. One day, during her 7th month of pregnancy, she decided to surprise him. She asked her cousin in Enugu to help her find a quiet Airbnb where she could stay for the weekend. She didn't want to disturb his studies but just needed to see him. To feel seen. Loved. Reassured. She arrived on a rainy Friday afternoon and texted Chuka, in Enugu for a few days. "Would love to see you. Let me know when you're free." There was no reply. She tried again the next day. Still nothing. By Sunday, her cousin suggested they drive by the university to see if he was all right. That's when everything began to unravel. They didn't find him at his campus hostel. But after asking a few people, her cousin overheard two students talking about a new house in the GRA that Mr. Chuka had just moved into with his wife. Miriam froze. Wife. She stared at the girl repeating the story. Are you sure it was Chuka? Yes, Ma, the girl replied. He even brought her to orientation last week. Fair girl. She drives a black Lexus RX. Very classy. Miriam's heart dropped to her stomach. She couldn't feel her fingers. Couldn't feel her baby kicking. Couldn't breathe. Her cousin grabbed her hand and drove straight to the address the students had loosely described. After knocking on 2 wrong gates, they finally found it. A 3-bedroom duplex with fresh white paint and security cameras. Her cousin stepped out of the car, walked up to the gate, and rang the bell. A gateman came out. Good afternoon. Please, we are looking for Mr. Chuka is. The gateman nodded. Ogade House. Make I call Within moments, Chuka came out. But he wasn't alone. He was holding hands with a woman in a silky brown kaftan, Kemi. They were barefoot. Happy. Radiating comfort. Chuka's eyes widened when he saw Miriam. He walked forward, slowly. Miriam, what are you doing here? Miriam's lips trembled. I came to see you. I thought you were drowning in school stress. I thought maybe you needed support. Kemi raised an eyebrow and looked confused. Chuka looked down. Miriam pointed at the house. You told me you were broke. That you were living in the hostel. I paid your tuition. Your rent. Even this month's upkeep. Kemi turned sharply to him. You said you didn't take money from anyone. Miriam stepped back, the betrayal slicing her like a knife. I paid for your master's degree. Your rent. While carrying your child. The silence that followed was deafening. As the raindrops began to fall again, Miriam stood frozen in front of the gate, tears blending with the water on her cheeks. In that moment, she realized that the man she loved had not just betrayed her trust, but had built a life with someone else using the very foundation of her sacrifices. But Miriam would not stay broken. This was just the beginning. Miriam didn't remember how she got back into the car. Her cousin said she went silent the entire ride home, no tears, no screams, just silence, like her soul had packed up and left her body. That night, she lay in bed, one hand on her belly, the other clenching the hospital bracelet she had kept since her first ultrasound. The image of Chuka and Kemi laughing in the doorway played in her mind like a cassette video clip, looping endlessly. How could he? She had given him everything. Not just money, her time, her loyalty, her future. In the days that followed, she blocked his number. No messages. No calls. Her cousin intercepted an email from him, filled with half-hearted apologies and convoluted justifications. He claimed it just happened. That Kemi offered stability, and that he didn't want to hurt Miriam. But he had already done that, systematically, cruelly, and with full awareness. The baby arrived 2 months later, a girl she named Amarachi, meaning a God's grace. Miriam stared into her daughter's eyes and knew that this pain would not define her. She would not allow Amarachi to grow up in bitterness. But healing wasn't instant. The hardest part wasn't losing Chuka, it was forgiving herself for trusting him. Then, 3 months after Amarachi's birth, something unexpected happened. A former colleague from her company reached out with a business proposal. They had been quietly building an HR consultancy firm and wanted Miriam to join as a founding partner. She hesitated, motherhood was demanding, but eventually agreed. Within a year, her new firm had secured contracts with 3 major tech startups in Abuja. Money started flowing again, not Chuka's money, but hers. Hard and clean. She moved to a better apartment in Jabi, hired a nanny, and poured her energy into motherhood and purpose. Meanwhile, rumors reached her about Chuka. Kemi had discovered the full extent of his lies, how he had used Miriam's money and pretended he was single. She left him. The house was repossessed when Chuka defaulted on a loan. He tried contacting Miriam again, but she never responded. Not out of hate, but out of growth. One evening, while feeding Amarachi mashed bananas, Miriam smiled and whispered, "Your mama may have been used, but she's not broken." She would teach her daughter the value of strength. Of not begging to be chosen. Of knowing when to walk away even with a broken heart and swollen belly. Because some endings are the beginning of the best chapters. 2 years later, on a warm Saturday morning, Miriam sat beneath the mango tree in her mother's compound in Benin City. Amarachi, now a bright, talkative toddler, ran barefoot across the yard, laughing with her cousins. Life had come full circle. Her business had grown beyond what she ever imagined. She now employed 6 full-time staff and mentored young women looking to break into corporate leadership. Her story, once painful to tell, had become her most powerful tool. She didn't hide it anymore. At a women's empowerment event in Lagos, she had stood on a stage, holding a mic with trembling hands, and said, "Sometimes, the people we invest in are not our partners, they are our lessons. And those lessons can be the very foundation we build our empires on." The crowd stood in applause. Tears in their eyes. That day, she felt her pain transform into purpose. Chuka, on the other hand, had faded into a cautionary tale. He tried to reach her once more after seeing her on a business segment on NTA. He left a voicemail. "Miriam, I watched your interview. I'm proud of you. I know I messed up. I was selfish. I hope you can forgive me. I'll never stop regretting it." She listened to it once and deleted it. Forgiveness didn't require reconnection. She had made peace with her past, but she owed him nothing more. Back at her mother's house, she watched Amarachi chase butterflies, her laughter piercing the air like a hymn. Miriam turned to her mother, who was peeling cassava beside her. "Mama," she said softly, "do you ever regret giving so much to people who didn't deserve it?" Her mother smiled, eyes fixed on the ground. "No, my daughter. Because I was not doing it for them, I was doing it to stay true to who I am." Miriam nodded, tears forming in her eyes. That was the lesson. Staying soft in a world that tried to harden her. Choosing integrity even when others chose deceit. Loving deeply, even if it meant healing alone. She looked down at her daughter and whispered, "You were never the mistake. You were the blessing hidden in my heartbreak." The story wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about rebirth. Not all scars are meant to be hidden. Some are meant to shine, to remind us of what we overcame and who we became in the process. Miriam's story is a message to every woman who has ever been used, deceived, or left behind. Your value is not determined by who fails to see it. Sometimes, it's the fire that forges you into something stronger.